All right, welcome back. We begin tonight with the Tri-State Office Furniture Tweet of the Night, and this is from the Pony Show over there with Chris Mueller. The Pony Express says John Clayton was on the program today, and he thinks T.J. Watt will sign a deal that pays him $24 million a year. Good idea. If you're the Steelers, I think that's a good idea. Chris, would he settle for that much or that little? Because I think if you look at some of the other guys around, there are some bigger price tags out there.
Why would he? I mean, edge rusher might be the second most glamorous position in all the NFL after quarterback. He wants to be the first $30 million a year player. And while he's not the best defensive player in the NFL, I would say that pretty obviously goes to Aaron Donald. And there's a handful of edge rusher types who are equivalent or close to it for T.J. Watt. He's the next guy up for a contract. Why would he want 23 or 24 million a year when 30 is probably within sight? I mean, he's a guy just like everybody else in this league that wants to set a new precedent in his position. He's either the best or among the best coming off the edge. So why would he accept what for the Steelers would be almost universally considered a good deal? I don't understand why he would take that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that John actually said that, because I thought, yeah, he should be anyway. I mean, you can argue he was the defensive player of the year last year. He didn't get it, runner-up, but I mean, he's got 49.5 sacks in his first several years on this job, 15 last year. I mean, you can make every case that he deserves that. We'll see. It's going to be something. Art Rooney says he wants to get it done before training camp. They normally do when they are motivated. I think they are motivated. Let's get to the lines here, Chris. We got Phil and Fox Chapo up first. Hey, Phil, what's up?
Pittsburgh Phil, Bob, and
Chris?
Malzer.
Malzer. Now you got a new nickname, Malzy.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, listen, I thought it's better than having Andrew Filipponi on. He's the guy that puts out U10 strokes behind Rich Walsh on a golfing.
Oh, God.
But anyways, let me tell
I
you
won that day,
think.
by the way.
You did win.
He took that.
I
that was
you out as a
Chris. You got to remind him that was one of his bad bets he wrote. You know, I'm 10. Come on, man.
I think he's got a whole folder of bad bets. I think they kind of all blend together with him. It certainly doesn't compare to his 2008 Seattle Mariners bet or whatever that was. Right. Ask him about that one tomorrow.
No
Go ahead, Phil.
So listen, I went down to the practice on Saturday. My family and all of us were sitting there. Ben really looked good. He got the ball out quickly. He threw the ball. I don't know if that's like a little sidearm thing he does or what he does there, but he gets the ball out pretty quick. And then I was saying to myself, you know what, he's probably going to have a really good, because I don't like exhibition either, but he's going to have a pretty good Hall of Fame game.
But he's not playing.
He's not playing.
No, all these guys that are...
He'll have a great game. He'll be 0 for 0. It'll be perfect.
Perfect passer rating.
Ben's not playing.
No.
Oh,
no, and I wonder if he's going to play at all in this preseason. You know, you would think. Thanks for the call,
Phil. He needs to. Yeah,
I agree. I think with a brand new offensive line. Now, first of all, they're not going to play tomorrow. You're not going to see a lot of guys tomorrow. So I think that's going to kind of skew everything. But I think as we move forward here, by the third game, which will be a home game against Detroit, I expect to see a little bit of Ben Roethlisberger.
I'd like to see him in, I know this is unrealistic, I'd like to see him in the second and third preseason games that they play. I'd like to see a couple series at the very least in each. I have a hard time, Bob, coming to grips with the idea that he can take mental reps in an offense that has so much pre-snap movement, that mental reps, practice reps, no live game reps, even if it's in an exhibition, is going to be enough to get Ben Roethlisberger fully prepared for what Matt Canada wants to do. I just don't see how that's a defensible position. He needs to be out there. Yes, there's an injury risk, but it's one that's worth taking to try to get him a little bit more up to speed when they actually start playing the games that count.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see. But tomorrow you're not going to see him, Phil, so don't think you will. Let's go out to Jan. Is it Jan in Pittsburgh? Ja. Okay, Ja, what's up?
I'm talking about NBA. Do you think
Thank you.
Damian Lillard would be arguably a better shooter than Curry at the end of his career?
No.
Although I think, you know what Dame's better at? You know what? I love that we get an NBA call. I think Dame has actually gotten better at the consistently absurd deep three pump. It's not as pretty to watch as Curry, because Curry just kind of flows like water out there on the court. Like, it's just... everything is so smooth. But Lillard, if you give me one shot, believe it or not, a guy to hit a shot from 30 feet or greater to win a game, I would actually take Damian Lillard. I believe he is the super long-range bomber of the NBA.
Yeah,
but Steph Curry's the best shooter that's ever picked up a basketball.
But
I
you
don't
know,
really think
another
that's
guy
up
who's
for
doing it
debate.
now is Trae Young. You got to watch him. If he gets close to mid court, you got to respect it. It's hard to defend that because you get kind of, nonchalant out there thinking guys aren't going to fire from that range. And honestly, it's a low percentage shot for 99% of the people out there. But for those guys, they will make 40% when they try it, which is remarkable to me. But it's interesting. What do you think about Lowry going to the Magic, since we're on this topic? And I like talking about it because I think that's or not the Magic, to the Heat, I mean. Miami is a team that, I thought they were going to do a lot better than they did this year. But with him there, I know he's an older guy, but does he have an impact? I think he will.
I think that's an interesting assemblage that they've got down there. A shooter in Duncan Robinson. I mean, just some of the pieces.
How about him? He got
they've put into
$55
place.
million, Chris, and he was undrafted. Nobody wanted him.
He has the single greatest LinkedIn page of all time. In 2017, it shows 6 months at a graphic design internship in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And then 2018 to present, it very literally says professional basketball player, Miami Heat. And it makes sure to note that that is a full-time job for Duncan Robinson. I love that story. As improbable as T.J. McConnell's rise here might be to an NBA player, Duncan Robinson's is that much more unlikely. He went D3 all the way up to the NBA.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I think the Heat are a pretty interesting team, but I do think the East is the Bucks to lose until we see differently. And by the way, one more note on TJ. I think it was Jeff Hathorn who wrote this story for the fan website. I would like to point out that his new contract will pay him more per season than Sidney Crosby is making. Just a quick note for people. TJ will be making more than Sidney Crosby for the next couple of years.
Goes to show you about the NBA and its money and how they, first of all, they don't have as many players, but man, they spend it. They're now over $2 billion in the last 3 days since free agency began, and there's always going to be some of these contracts are a little bizarre to me though. But they have the money, they spend the money, and we'll see what happens. By the way, I think Milwaukee should be commended because they did it without trying to play one of these big three games. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't go out there and say, hey, I want you to come here and you to come here, and we'll give you all the max and whatever, and then try to add pieces just to They did it by having a team that was together mostly. Now, they made some additions, but nothing major. Nothing like LeBron bringing in AD and now Westbrook.
Yeah, they're not doing fantasy basketball, but that's a disservice to Chris Middleton, who's one of the most underappreciated star, almost superstar level at times players in all of basketball. And I know you know that, Bob, but yeah, I can appreciate the fact that they didn't do this, trying to assemble a big three. By the way, can we cool it with the big three talk, where every three players on a team that you maybe have heard of if they're in a decent-sized market? Did you see this? Did you happen to see, Bob, ESPN put out a thing for the Wizards that Spencer Dinwiddie, Bradley Beal, and Kyle Kuzma were their new trio?
Trio.
How many people could people pick out of a lineup out of those guys other than Bradley Beal in most cities? What are we talking about here? I mean, that was the most ridiculous thing. That's like taking three Steelers offensive linemen that have never played a snap before at their new positions and saying, here's the new power trio on the offensive line. Come on!
I hear you. We're going to take a break. When I come back, I want to talk about a big golf event that's coming to Pittsburgh next week. I know if you're a golf fan, you may want to go out there to Oakmont and Longview and check it out because it's going to be some of the best young players who will soon become names that you will recognize down the road. We'll be back with more. It's 412-575-2600 right here on Pittsburgh CW.